Garcia Lopez Parish, please.
Swear the testimony you give this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes. Thank you. Have some peace.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Ms. Parrish.
Good morning.
If you would please state your name for the court.
Michelle Parrish.
And Michelle, where do you live?
I live in Inman, South Carolina.
South Carolina. And how long have you lived in South Carolina?
For about 8 years.
And where did you live prior to that?
I lived in Florida.
If I could get you to move the microphone,
Sure.
however you're comfortable. And
There we
thank
go.
you. Tell us about your family. Are you married?
I am. I just got remarried to my wonderful husband, Lionel, in January. I had a son, William. He passed away from cancer.
Was that William Lopez?
Yes,
And how old was he when he passed away?
17.
Okay. And we heard from Billy Lopez yesterday. What is his relation to you?
He's my ex-husband.
And was he William's father?
Yes.
Okay. Have you known the defendant in this case, Miss Madonna?
Yes.
And tell us how you knew her.
Through Billy. She was Billy's brother's wife.
Did there come a time when you and Billy and the daughters of the defendant, Rachel and Michelle, began to communicate and began to visit with each other?
With us?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that and how that came about?
Yeah, it was great. We got together on Facebook with Michelle. Billy found her, and we called and got together, and we met up with Joanna and Michelle and Rachel, and for the first time, and it was exciting. I think she was 15, maybe around there. Yeah.
15, or when you say she was 15?
Mm-hmm. She was older. Yeah, because they lost touch with her when she was a baby. So.
Do you remember what year that would have been?
Oh gosh.
Or how many years ago?
Probably about 6 years ago.
Okay. Was your son William of similar age to Miss Madonna's, the defendant's daughters?
He was younger. Yeah, he was younger.
And what kind of relationship did he have with them?
With Michelle, he had a brother-sister relationship. They weren't, they're cousins, but they were very, very close, extremely close.
And how did that kind of manifest itself or show itself?
Well, Michelle would come over to our home and stay with us and visit with us. She would stay with us for the summer, and just the relationship grew stronger and stronger with her and William. And they would, hang out together at home and talk.
And when you say she would come and spend time with you, is that she would come from North Carolina to South Carolina
Right.
to spend time with you?
Yes.
And did the defendant come with her when she would do that?
She came with her a couple of times. Yeah, she did.
Tell us a little bit about when your son first got to be sick.
He was diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma, bone cancer. He was when he was 15 actually, he started becoming clumsy. He was in marching band. He started becoming clumsy, and so we started, kind of wondering what was going on. His shin started bothering him, started burning him. We took him to the doctor. They said it was growing pains, kind of a back and forth kind of deal, until finally one night I couldn't even go near his leg. It was just very swollen. Took him to the doctor. They gave him an MRI, and they found a cyst in his bone on his leg.
And do you remember when that was, Ms. Parrish?
2000, let's see, had to be 2011, I guess.
And
Or
was it
2012.
after that Michelle would come and spend the summers with y'all? Or?
Yes, I believe it was after William was diagnosed with cancer that she actually spent the summer. But before that, she would visit a lot, before William got sick and before he got diagnosed. She would come and spend weekends, and so.
And how did she generally get there?
She would get dropped off either, by Joanna. We met halfway one time. And when she started driving, she would drive as well.
And when the defendant would come, would she be by herself other than with Michelle?
Yes, there was one time she came with Jose to our home.
And tell us about that.
It was Joanna, Jose, and Michelle, and we just spent a few hours together at the house. That was when Michelle was going to stay for the summer, actually, and it was nice. It was nice. We all just sat and talked. We didn't go out or anything. We just stayed at the home and watched some TV and just talked for a little while.
On the other occasions, when the defendant met you to provide Michelle a ride between your two homes or brought her down, how many times would you say that was?
It was probably a few times. I would say she dropped her off.
And so other than that one time with Jose, was she otherwise alone when she would bring
Yes.
Michelle? When you met Jose, tell us a little bit about him.
He was quiet. Didn't, he seemed nice. He just, he wasn't, to me, he wasn't really the talkative type, but he was just, quiet, and, he would say, we'll have a conversation, simple conversation, but he was just, doing his thing. He was sitting in the kitchenette area for the whole time. We would sit with him, and we were just all kind of talking, and he would just sit there, kind of listen,
Tell me a little bit about what your knowledge of how they came together was, or how they had met.
I really don't have much knowledge of that at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
At some point while William was sick, did the defendant make contact with you about visiting him?
Yes. She was. She wanted to see William because he was starting to get, sick. Just, starting to get a bit worse. And she wanted to come see him. She wanted to come visit him, and spend some time with him.
And do you remember when y'all's conversations about that visit initiated, or?
It was sometime in May. She inboxed saying that, just wondering, she can come and visit, when would be a good time for us, because we worked, and she wanted to, know our schedule, and,
And when you say May, what year, if you remember?
oh, let's see, William was turning, I guess, 2012, because William was turning 17.
Okay. Could it have been 2013?
Or 2013, it could have been.
Did the defendant at some point come down to visit?
Yes, yes.
And tell me about that. Did she come to your house first, or?
No.
At that point, let me back up just a little bit. When did you and Mr. Lopez separate?
Oh, 2000. Geez, I'm so bad with dates. I'm sorry. Oh, that was.
Separated at the time she came to
Yes.
visit? Okay.
Yes, we were separated by then.
Okay.
Yeah, had to be about 3 years ago.
Okay. And so when the defendant came down to South Carolina, did she come to your house?
She did. She came to my house. Yes.
Okay.
She saw Billy first. She went to see Billy first.
Okay. And then did they come together
Yes.
to your house? Do you remember what car she was driving or how she got there?
I think it was a Jeep. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm thinking it was a Jeep.
Talk to us a little bit about the house in which you live. Describe your home to us.
My home, it's kind of like a little ranch home, one level, really, 3 bedroom, 2 bath, kind of simple, really nice. Nice home, little fenced in backyard,
Right.
just, nice one level home.
Where did the visit take place?
When she came to see William?
Yes.
At my home.
Okay, and where in your home? Describe that.
We were mainly in the living room.
Okay.
Mainly, yeah.
And tell us about that visit. What do you remember about that visit?
She came in. Before she came in, I stepped outside with her because she was, making sure that, she wanted to know what to expect, with William. I said, William's fine. He's good. And, she gave her a hug, and we came inside, and, William was happy to see her, and they enjoyed the day together.
How long was she there?
It wasn't very long. I would say maybe 2 to 3 hours, maybe. It wasn't too long, maybe 2 hours.
And talk to us a little bit about the visit. What did they talk about during the visit?
Oh, they spoke about everything that William liked. William loved, hunting, and, he loved, he, collected weapons. My ex-husband, he was, at one point a security officer, so, we always had weapons in our house, so we had to teach William, the safeties and about guns, and we always grew up with weapons in our home, so, they were talking about we would go shooting, the shooting range and things like that. So, they were talking about, just a lot of what he liked to do and what he has done, and, things like that,
Was that sort of your son's, favorite pastime or
Oh,
biggest
yes. Oh, yes. That's how he passed time, and that's how he made himself better when he wasn't feeling good, I mean, he would take apart, take apart a whole, he did archery, and, he would go and do the archery, and, he loved weapons. That was his thing.
And was that pretty known to members of the family and his friends? And
Oh, yeah.
everybody kind of was aware of his...
Oh, yeah.
Um, tell me a little bit, at some point, did the defendant start to talk about wanting a weapon or wanting to get a gun?
Yeah, she mentioned that that there was break-ins at her neighborhood, and that there was a break-in on either side of the houses that she lives in, and she was afraid and fearful for herself and her children's lives, and she needed to purchase a weapon, and that's why they were going to the pawn shop before they came to see me, but she couldn't find anything that she could really afford, so.
And you mentioned that they had gone to the pawn shop before, and so when she came down to South Carolina, did she let it be known that she was looking to obtain a gun?
Yeah, she spoke to Billy about it, and she said that she's just going to see if there's anything she could afford.
And when she was talking about these break-ins, tell me a little bit about her, demeanor or behavior about that.
When she came in, she just seemed a little edgy, I was just, she had to be, she had to be home. She wanted to be home by a certain time. She had to leave by a certain time. That's why she couldn't stay too long.
And so did she make that clear to you that she
yes,
didn't have long to stay?
yes.
And I'm sorry I interrupted you. You're saying she was a little edgy, and I think I'd asked, about what she said or what her demeanor was. And
Right. And I figured, because of the break-ins that's been going on in the neighborhood and, everything that's been, she was just, I figured she was upset about that and nervous about that. And, and that's why she was a little bit, edgy and the way she was. So, my son got really upset. He was upset and he was afraid for, if God forbid somebody was to break into their home, they wouldn't have anything to defend themselves with. And like I said, William and Michelle were so close. He didn't want anything to happen to them.
What was it exactly that kind of made him upset, or what?
The fact that that Joanna didn't have anything to defend herself with or the family with.
And so, did that concern come about as a result of what she was talking about and what she had
Yes.
talked about?
Yes.
And so, once he became upset, then what happened, or what did he do?
He just, he went in the room and brought out this one gun. It's a Taurus. I forget what it was, but I know it was a Taurus. And he says, look, he said, why don't you borrow this? Okay, he said, until you could afford to buy yourself your own weapon, your own gun. But at least you can keep this in the house for protection for yourself and the family.
Had you ever seen William give anyone else
No.
a gun? And so, how did you react to that, or what was your thought?
At first,
I'm
thinking to myself, oh, okay, you're going to give up one of your guns, But, Joanna's family, and I didn't think anything else but that there was break-ins, and that she was fearful for her life and her kids' lives. And William, at the time, William was very sick, and it was very hard for me to say no to him, and he looked at me, he says, Mommy, I really, they need to be, they need to be safe. And he says, I really want to do this for them, and so I said, okay. I said, well, she could borrow it, and and when she gets her own weapon, then, you know, she could return it.
Did William have any siblings?
No, he was the only child.
And so I think you described earlier his relationship with Michelle, the defendant's daughter, is like a brother-sister.
Right.
And was part of that him being protective of her? And
He was very protective of Michelle. Extremely protective, yes. Yes.
when he brought the gun out, how did he give it to the defendant? Did they talk about how to use it? What was that conversation like?
Yeah. He showed it to her. I believe he gave her, you know, some bullets with it, and kind of just showed her how to use the gun, you know, holding the gun and you know, saying, you know, how far, how far you have to be to shoot someone and hurt someone, or, you know, with that particular gun. And, you know, just, you know, basically just showing her how to, how to hold the gun and you know, how to use it.
You remember if the defendant asked anything about the gun?
She was asking, you know, your basic questions. You know, she says, she was asking, William, you know, is this how you hold the gun, and this will kill somebody, and you know, just those basic questions like that.
Can you talk or mentioned that you thought that he may have given her ammunition as well? Do you know whether that was in a box or what kind of ammunition he gave her or any of that?
I'm not good with that. I'm not sure what kind of ammunition it was. He could have given her a box. I'm pretty sure he gave her a box of ammunition. Yeah.
Did there come a point in time when he offered her any other weapon?
Yes, he gave her a knife as well. My son collected swords, so he loved all types of weapons. So he collected swords and things like that. And he also gave her a knife to have for protection. Mm-hmm.
If you remember, where did either the knife or the gun come from that William gave the defendant?
Where it was purchased?
Right, or...
The knife was purchased from Chimney Rock. There's a place called Chimney Rock in South Carolina, and, you know, it's where you go mining and stuff like that. It was one of his favorite places to go, and that's where he purchased a lot of his swords and knives. There was a store there that the lady knew him by heart and by name, and, you know, if some particular stuff came in, you know, they would tell my father, because my father would go with him and buy the, a sword or, a little knife or whatever. So the knife was from Chimney Rock, and I believe the gun was from this little place, this little hut place around the corner, pretty much from where my parents and myself live. And I forgot the name of it, though. I don't remember the name of the place, but they would purchase a lot of their, the guns from there.
I take it that you weren't necessarily into hunting and
No.
weapons as much as your son was.
Right.
But would he show you the various things that he had?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I knew everything he had. I knew every weapon, every sword. And
Yeah, may I approach?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to show you what has been marked and entered into evidence as State's Exhibit number 5. Do you recognize?
yes.
Okay, and tell us how you can recognize that.
That's the box that the knife came in that my son had. And he gave her the whole thing, the box and the knife. I remember when he purchased it.
And so this was the knife that your son provided to the defendant.
Yes.
day? What happened after he had given her these weapons? How long did she stay?
Not very long. After that, we, spoke for a little bit more, and she had to leave. She said she had to go. Yeah.
When she was leaving, do you remember what did she do with the knife and the gun and the ammunition?
Well, the gun, we gave him, the gun was in a box.
Okay.
So the gun was in the box, and we put everything in I believe it was an Ingles bag or something, and put it she put it in the car.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think you mentioned that she was driving some kind of a Jeep, is that right?
I believe so.
While she was there, did y'all look at any other of William's weapons? Was that part of the visit?
Yes. His wife, he loved to hunt, so, showed him, the rifle, and, this is my rifle that I got. And at the time, Make-A-Wish, which is a cancer association, they actually gave him a rifle, a brand new rifle, and because he was such a big hunter, so he was showing everything that they gave him, showing it off to her, and, just trying to enjoy the visit. So yeah, he showed her a few weapons.
And did y'all take some pictures during her visit?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes, ma'am.
You would please identify what's been marked as states of number 67.
Yeah, that's my excuse me. Thank you. Thank you. That's my son and Joanna and Billy sitting on my couch, showing her his, I believe that's a SKS maybe. I think he got like a new a thing on it,
A sight.
a site. Thank you. Yes, yeah, I'm not really good with that. And he was showing Joanna the site, and Joanna was looking through it, through the site, because he was showing it to her. Yeah.
Is that a photograph that you took, Miss Parrish?
I believe so, yeah. I believe I was taking those pictures.
And is it in substantially the same form as you took it? Is it altered in any way?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Does it help illustrate your testimony today here of what the visit was about?
Yes.
Your Honor, we would ask that State's Exhibit number 67 be admitted into evidence.
No objection, Your Honor.
We'd also, thank you, Your Honor, we'd also ask for permission to publish that to the jury. Yes, Your Honor.
Ladies and gentlemen, state exhibit number 67, the photograph's going to be passed to me, you carefully, individually, without comment. You may continue to respond.
Ms. Parrish, in relation to when the visit was with the defendant in this case, when did you first learn about the victim's death?
That Sunday, early that Sunday.
And so was that the next day?
The next day, yes. She came to visit us on Saturday, and found out on Sunday that about what happened to Jose.
You talked about meeting Jose, the victim, on the occasion that he came to your house. If you would, tell us a little bit about his physical condition. how old he was compared to the defendant, some of those things.
Right. He was older. He was much older than her. I'm not sure how many years apart, but I know that he was older than her. He I'm not sure exactly his health. I mean, I know that he had some issues with his health. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but he was a little big. He sat a lot. I mean, because he couldn't really, he would move, but he's not, he wasn't, fast or anything. But, he was really, he was very nice. Very nice. He, like I said, he didn't talk much. He didn't really speak much, but,
On those occasions when you would see the defendant, did she talk much about him?
Not really. Not really, no. I mean, Joanna and I really didn't talk too much about her personal life. When we spoke, it was about Michelle most of the time. Michelle, here and there, you would hear that they were having, arguments or problems. They would argue and stuff, but, yeah.
Have you continued to have a relationship with Michelle?
Oh, yes.
And, I guess her connection to you is really through your ex-husband, is that right?
Right,
And
yes.
so, why have you continued to have that relationship?
I love her. She's like my daughter. We became extremely close, and when my ex-husband and I were married, like I said, she would come over a lot and everything, and over those years we developed a very close relationship, always talked, and she's very open with me, and I just felt she calls me Titi Ma, so I'm like her mom. I watch over her and make sure she's okay. I speak with her all the time, make sure that she's she lived with me for like 6 months. I just make sure that she's doing okay.
You mentioned a few minutes ago that when Mr. Perez, the victim, came to visit on that time, that he didn't move much from where he was sitting. Were you aware of any of his health issues, or?
I'm not 100% sure. I'm not sure if he was diabetic, or I'm not sure exactly what his health issues were. I just know that he had health issues.
Was there something based on your observations that led you to that conclusion?
Well, Michelle told me, that he had health issues. And also by looking at him, that day at the house, I mean, you could tell that he was, that he couldn't move too fast, or he couldn't, yeah.
Here, may I have one moment?
Yes,
Questions?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Ms. Parrish. I just have a few questions for you. In the interactions that you had, you were able to witness between Miss Madonna, Joanna Madonna, and Jose, did you ever see them fight or argue personally?
No.
And did you ever see them have any kind of physical altercation or anything like that?
No.
Did they seem to have a relatively normal relationship from what you observed?
Yes.
And you said that you guys kind of all reconnected through Facebook. At that point in time, did you know that you were just living one state away from each other?
No.
Okay. And I think that's what rekindled it the most. Like in all this time, you've been one state away from each other, but had no idea.
Right. Yes.
So I'm assuming that, well, after you found out that you guys were that close, you made plans immediately to kind of reconnect and
Yes.
I guess kickstart the family relationship again.
Absolutely.
And were you and Billy still together at that point in time, or had you guys already separated?
No, we were married.
Okay. And I guess after you and Joanna started your relationship, you, Joanna, Michelle started your relationship, how long were you still together with Mr. Lopez, Billy?
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah, we were married for 17 years total. We didn't get divorced probably till maybe 8 years later.
Okay. But even after divorce, you guys, it sounded like you tried to have a decent relationship and stay in contact with each other.
Me and my ex-husband?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we're best friends. We're very...
And so that makes it a lot easier for Joanna to still be involved and Michelle to still be involved because you guys didn't have any problems with your divorce.
Absolutely.
Whenever, I guess Billy said yesterday that William's cancer went into remission for a little while and you thought you guys were going to be out of the woods.
Yes, it went in for about 3 months. He was cancer-free.
Okay. And then it came back and I guess where you learned something through talking to doctors that gave you any kind of a special, make you especially concerned at that point once it came back?
Well, yes. I mean, they mentioned that if the Ewing sarcoma was to come back, I mean, there was 2 types of cancers. There was Ewing sarcoma and I can't even pronounce it, but the cancer that he had was, if you want to say, the better cancer, but he had a better chance. But they did say that if the Ewing sarcoma came back, it would come back with a vengeance, and it's pretty much just a matter of time after that.
And you weren't here when your ex-husband testified yesterday. You weren't in the courtroom.
No.
Okay. But you guys seem to say you went to the same meetings because you said the same exact thing about Billy's cancer. If it came back, it was coming back with a vengeance. And
oh yeah, that's the doctor told us that.
Okay. Once the cancer came back, did you start letting family members know that it came back, or like how did that process go?
Oh yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I guess at that time you guys were kind of preparing everyone for the worst, including yourself, preparing for the worst.
Kind of. We're very. We have God in our lives, so we always felt that He was going to bring that miracle and heal our son. So even at that point, I didn't believe that he was going to pass away.
You were still optimistic, but you were, I guess, being also realistic and optimistic.
Right. It was in the back of my head that, I knew what could happen.
And once the cancer came back, I guess you said Joanna sent you a Facebook message about coming to visit.
Inbox, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Inbox message.
Mm-hmm.
And you believe that was like towards is it correct to say that maybe May the 27th of 2013?
Right.
And at that point in time, I think you guys said that you all had to work and that she couldn't come down to visit.
Right.
And I'm assuming at that point in time when people found out about Billy's condition, everybody wants to come visit, everybody wants to inbox you, everybody wants to call you.
Oh, sure.
And
sure.
I'm sure you appreciated it at some points, but at some points it also became annoying.
It did.
Okay.
It did.
And then I think Joanna did the same thing. Everybody has their 2 cents about treatment and doctors and coming to Duke and things like that, correct?
Yes, actually, yeah. Yeah, Joanna actually asked if, if we can go, we were invited to go to their house and stay there to look at the Duke hospital there to see if there was any better treatment for William.
And I guess you appreciate the offer, but you were handling yourself, and I guess you get a lot of those kind of requests where everybody thinking they're helping, but it becomes too much.
Yes.
And I guess in June she contacted you again and said she wanted to come down that weekend.
Yes.
And I guess that was June the 5th, Saturday the 15th.
Yes.
And she ended up, that was okay, so you came down and had your visit.
Yes, I made sure I had it off from work. Yeah.
When Billy had visitors, how long would you typically let them visit? Like how long could he tolerate a visit, I guess?
Oh, William was, he he kept everything to himself. He was always, you know, he would never tell anyone, you know, you need to leave. Even when he was feeling bad, it wouldn't matter. He would just, you know, put his clown face on and, you know, just enjoy the visit
And tough it out.
and tough it out.
And I apologize, Billy and William. I'm going back and forth, but you understand what I was talking
Yes,
about.
yes.
And we talked extensively about the weapon collection that your son had. How many weapons did he have in total? Would you
Oh,
say?
I don't know. I can't put a number on it.
Okay.
I'm not sure the total amount. He had a good amount of swords and guns.
Okay. I guess too many to even count. He just had them everywhere.
Well, no, they weren't everywhere. I mean,
Okay.
they were in their safeties, but
Okay.
you know, I think he had, let's see, a rifle, probably about 4 guns maybe, and lots of swords and knives.
And I guess when people came over, that's what he wanted to talk about. They were kind of his pride and joy. He loved to show those things off.
Right, just to, you know, close family. Yes.
And I'm glad you mentioned that because at the same time, Billy, because your son, because he was raised this way, was also very careful with guns and safe with guns. And
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. He would, I mean, there was times when we would go gun shooting and we would go with our friends, and our friend would hold the gun wrong, and William said, oh, no, he would correct him and say, you have to, you know, hold it like this, and it's not safe to hold it like that, you know. He was very safe.
And when he gave Joanna the gun, he took her through those steps as well about telling her what to do and how it worked and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And she was just asking basic questions about it.
Yes, she was asking questions about the gun. Mm-hmm.
Did you remember Billy loading the gun for her, or your son loading the gun for her?
I think he showed her how to put the bullets in the gun, yes.
And when you said that Joanna seemed upset and nervous, you said that was in reference to her talking about the break-ins and things like that were going around in her neighborhood.
Well, that's what I figured. I didn't know about the break-ins until she came in and spoke about them, yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, when she was just, you know, on edge and just nervous and just, I don't know, it was a weird, it just felt weird. I was, you know, I spoke to my husband and said, she just doesn't seem right, you know, she just seemed on edge. Yeah.
You said on edge, and maybe she had an anxious vibe about her.
Yeah.
And I guess your son picked up on that vibe or heard about that vibe as well, and that's when he wanted to make sure that, I guess Joanna as well, but he's definitely, since Michelle is in the house, that he wants to make sure that she was all right.
Exactly.
So he wanted to make sure that the family was fine.
Yes.
And I guess because out of anybody, I'm sure he hugged Joanna and said, hey, how are you doing? But he loved Michelle.
Yes.
And that's when he offered to let Miss Joanna borrow the gun. And I guess at that point in time, they had the agreement that he would bring it back in a couple of weeks.
Yes.
And he said that he even told you, I guess you protested a little bit, like, why are you just giving her one of your guns? And it was a relatively new gun, correct?
Yes. Yeah,
And
he got for Christmas.
It was a Christmas gun, and it was $400 gun.
Mm-hmm.
And your son was just giving it away.
Yes.
But I guess the agreement to make sure that she was bringing it back made that a little bit easier to swallow.
Right.
And in addition to that, you said you weren't going to tell him no at that point in time anyway.
Right.
And he also gave her the knife for protection as well, correct?
Yes.
And he was, you remember him talking to her about there may be places you can't carry a gun, so you need the knife as well.
Right, right. You know, he said you can't carry the gun in public places or anything like that, so you can keep the knife, you know, in your purse or, you know, for protection. Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Just very briefly, Your Honor, Did you ever get the gun back?
No, I want it back.
You mentioned that I think that the defendant had inboxed you. Did y'all communicate over Facebook?
Uh, it was more, well, yeah, I guess that's the inboxing
Right. And
through
so,
Facebook.
so you're familiar with her having a Facebook page and being on Facebook.
Yes.
And after the defendant killed her husband, did that Facebook page continue in place?
I'm not actually 100% sure. 'Cause I knew she had a Facebook. I wasn't personally Facebook friends with her though on Facebook. That's why we inboxed. So I'm not 100% sure. I don't think so. I actually, from what I remember, I think the page wasn't there. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure. Like I said, we didn't do actual Facebook. We didn't talk back and forth. It was more inboxing. I knew she had a Facebook though, but
You talked about how close Michelle and your son was.
yeah.
Did and that y'all considered each other family, and
Oh yeah.
was it common for y'all to talk about things that were going on in each other's lives?
Not really. I mean, we would talk about the, basic stuff. With Joanna and I, like I said, we didn't speak about, all we spoke about when we spoke was the kids, Michelle and Rachel and William. With Michelle, there were times when, she would, talk, she would be annoyed. And she's a teenager. She would be annoyed, with things going on at home, little arguments here and there and stuff. But we didn't, we didn't really talk about problems with the children.
The visit that they've mentioned where the defendant and the victim came to your house, do you remember how far before or how long before he was killed that was?
Oh, geez. I know it woke us up. It woke us up from our sleep. Lionel and I were in bed, and
Sorry.
Billy called. I'm sorry.
I think the visit you mentioned where the defendant and victim came to visit when they brought Michelle
Oh,
at
yes.
some point.
Okay.
Do you remember how far before the victim's death that was? It was a few months.
Oh no, it was a while. It happened a long time after.
Okay. And I think you mentioned on cross-examination they seem to have a normal relationship. And
Yes.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
No further questions.
Yes.
No objection, Your Honor. Thank you, Ms. Parrish.
For the next state,
Your Honor, the next witness that the state would intend to call is the medical examiner, and she's not gotten here yet. She should be here within the next 5 or 10 minutes.
So can we call Shane?
Okay. Let me get Dr. Fauci then. We have another witness that's upstairs. It'll take a couple minutes for him to get down in the elevator, but I'll call him instead.
ladies and gentlemen, we'll be at ease for a few moments while we are, you may talk among yourselves, but not about